Hi everybody, this is Katje. Welcome to my channel. This evening I wanted to do a little more philosophy, and I wanted to return to the philosophy in particular of Friedrich Nietzsche and do some kind of improvisational stuff with that. But before I get into it, I just wanted to show you this other outfit that I recently purchased from Cotton On, a store here in the local mall. This is a floral print dress. It's kind of a mid-length floral print dress. So this evening I'm wearing that with my ankle boots, black ankle-length boots, to create kind of a sort of new wave funky look. And I have some bracelets to accentuate and accessorize this outfit. So let me just model the boots for you. I've worn them before, but I thought it would go pretty well with this to give it kind of an urban, funky look. So this is the dress that I bought, and it's very comfortable, and I think it will be very versatile throughout the summer months and into the early fall. You could also wear it with a scarf or something like that to jazz things up a little bit. So that's the other outfit that I bought from Cotton On, and again, their clothes are very affordable. They have a very good selection. So I was pleased with that store, and I look forward to visiting it again. So let me go back to Nietzsche just a little bit and remind you of some of the things that I have said about Nietzsche, the ways that I have used Nietzsche in some of my previous videos. So remember that without going into too much detail, I've used Nietzsche as kind of a skeptical sounding board against which to test certain theological views that I myself have developed. And as you may recall, those of you who have followed those previous videos, as you may recall, Nietzsche enables us by raising certain skeptical possibilities that those theologies do not rule out, or counter explanations of what they purport to explain. Nietzsche's philosophy can be used as serve as a very useful tool to show what's problematic about those theologies, where they fall short. So I'm not going to get into that this evening. I'm also not going to get into some of the criticisms that I have raised against Nietzsche's view, how it, in particular, his ideas of the eternal return of the same and the will to power can themselves lead into kind of skeptical cul-de-sacs. But I don't want to get into any of that tonight because I've been over it before, and those of you who are interested can certainly revisit those previous videos in which I discuss that material. What I want to do tonight is look beyond theology a little bit and just ask, well, is there anything more positive that we might take from some of these Nietzschean ideas? And I think that there is something more positive. And what I want to do is just very briefly this evening give you a couple of examples. One of them is taken from Also sprach Zarathustra, that's Thus Spake Zarathustra. It's an image that Nietzsche uses in that work. And then another one is an image that kind of occurred to me, but it is not really original with Nietzsche. It's not something found in Nietzsche, but it's something that occurred to me, and it seems very Nietzschean in its orientation. So let me begin with the image from Thus Spoke Zarathustra, and this is the image of the Seiltänzler, or the tightrope dancer Nietzsche uses. It's kind of an image of the person who's on the way to this new philosophical perspective of the Übermensch and of these very powerful instincts, these very powerful life-affirming instincts that Nietzsche thinks culminate in the emergence of the Superman or the Übermensch. But without getting into all of that, why is this image of the tightrope walker interesting? And how would it be relevant or useful for us, even if we're not so interested in evaluating Nietzsche's philosophy? How could that help us in everyday life? Well, I think that, remember, one of the ideas that Nietzsche wants us to be careful about is we don't want to confuse cause and effect, or we don't want to assume that something is a cause when it might be an effect. Sometimes it helps to look at something often taken as the cause, as the effect, to sort of turn things on their head. So I think that with this image of the tightrope dancer, one way of taking that is to use it in that way. So for example, somebody who's a tightrope dancer or an acrobat, one way that we typically approach a lot of things that we do in life is that, well, what we do is, first of all, we try to get an audience. We try to bring a bunch of people together, an audience together who will be there to watch us, whether we're writing something, or maybe we're performing something, maybe we're filming something on YouTube like this, or maybe we're giving some kind of performance in the broad sense. But before we do that, we think first of all about, well, who is the audience for this, and let's try to get them lined up, all our ducks in a row, and then we will give the performance. Now, it seems to me that Nietzsche is saying, well, look, instead of looking at it that way, why don't we turn things around? And first of all, don't worry about the audience. Don't worry about finding a public for whatever it is that you want to do. First of all, do it. Do the performance. Excel at something. Be very, very competent or artistic or skilled at whatever the performance in question is. And then, if it really is something of great value, or if it's something successful, it will find a public. Nietzsche wrote many of these books during his lifetime, realizing that during his lifetime, that they probably wouldn't, and in fact did not, garner a wide audience. So he was saying, well, look, these works eventually will find their audience. I'm not going to worry about that right now. I'm going to be the tightrope dancer. I'm going to write in this very provocative and original way. I'm going to be a skilled philosopher. I'm going to excel at this craft. And then, if I'm successful, then the rest will take care of itself. And the audience, the right audience for these works, will come along and we'll find them. So that's the first image that I wanted to use. And I think that can really help us in everyday life. Not just in philosophy or theology, but in whatever it is that you might be interested in doing. Don't think about the audience first and then worry about the execution. Turn things around. Worry about the execution. Focus on that, and then the audience for that performance will turn up, and that matter will take care of itself. So that's one example that I wanted to give. Now, the other example that I wanted to give is something that occurred to me. And again, this example is not found in Nietzsche's works per se, but I think it has a very Nietzschean flavor. So I think we can imagine, I remember when I was a younger person, sometimes I like to go out very early in the morning, and I still do this sometimes, and take a walk when it's like 4:15, 4:30, when it's still dark, and I'm all alone and nobody else is around. I try to be careful, but I still like to do that because the world looks very different at that time of early morning. Or as in German, one of Nietzsche's works is called Morgenröte, the first light. That's kind of the time when I like to walk around. So that's what gives this example a kind of Nietzschean flavor. Now, it occurred to me when I was doing this recently that, well, look, maybe I should be worried because there might be animals out there, or maybe other people or presences that would pose a risk. So am I not running a risk? Maybe I'm exposing myself to kind of a dangerous risk. There might be someone else out there who might not be, safe or might be threatening, and so maybe I should worry about that. But then it occurred to me in this kind of Nietzschean vein, well, wait a minute, if I'm actually doing this at 4:15 or 4:30 in the morning, if I'm taking a walk and I'm out in the dark at this very unusual time, maybe I'm the threatening presence, or maybe I'm the person or the animal or the presence that poses a risk. I'm not saying that I was contemplating hurting anybody or breaking into anybody's house or doing anything like that. But what was interesting to me is that in the course of these Nietzschean reflections, there was a kind of inversion. Whereas, initially, I was worried about something else posing a risk to me. But then when I thought about what I was doing and the sort of odd, unusual circumstances under which I was doing it, then it occurred to me, well maybe I'm the risk, or maybe I'm the thing that has the power or the unusual, almost unusual, I don't want to say threatening, but powerful presence that other things should be worried about. Maybe I shouldn't be worried about that. They should be worried about me. And it was very empowering, or it made me feel secure. It made me feel safe. It focused my attention so that I could concentrate on walking and enjoying things and not worrying about other things being a risk to me. Maybe it's the other way around, and I would be more of a risk to them, and that made me feel safe. So that's the kind of, an example of this kind of Nietzschean inversion, I like to call it, that I was talking about before. And so this is the reason that I'm bringing these examples up, is that I think that these are ways, and there may be many others, in which we can try to take something positive from Nietzsche's philosophical outlook that doesn't just have to do with evaluating theological positions or trying to delve deeper into Nietzsche's doctrines of the will to power or the eternal return, or things like that that can become very, very abstract very, very quickly and get us really into rather deep philosophical waters. These are sort of possible practical applications of this very original and unique way of looking at things that Nietzsche developed in works like Götterdämmerung, Twilight of the Idols, in Also sprach Zarathustra, in Die Geburt der Tragödie, The Birth of Tragedy, and other things that I want to talk about maybe a little bit more in some future videos. So next time what I want to do is, maybe I'm thinking about saying something about the Geburt der Tragödie, that's Nietzsche's The Birth of Tragedy, where Nietzsche has a very original interpretation of how ancient Greek tragedy arose and what it was trying to accomplish, that sort of foreshadows many of his later philosophical preoccupations. So that might be something that I would want to talk about in the not too distant future. But I think that's enough for tonight, and I hope that you enjoyed what I have to say. And if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them in the part of the page below this video, in the feed below the video. Again, this is my floral summer dress that I'm wearing with my black ankle boots, and this is again from Cotton On. So I hope that you have enjoyed this video, and until next time, this is Katje Eckhart. I wish everybody a restful and a peaceful and an invigorating good night, and until next time, take care of yourselves, and I'll talk to you again. Bye-bye.